Painful loss. Wasted a tremendous start by Brody Breck. He went out and did everything that he could do to give us a chance. And offensively, we battled and fought Finlong. Finally broke through with a couple runs. Had two-run lead in the eighth when we had to go to the bullpen, and it didn't go well once we went there. Unfortunately, couple free bases and some bad luck. Got nickel dimed a little bit. The chopper, we don't get an out, which ended up being a big play in that game. And the bleeder to left field where Siggers dove and tips off his glove. We don't get an out there, and had to bring Luke Llewellyn into a tough situation. And Luke had to pound the strike zone, and he did, and they made us pay, and got two big hits to break the game open a little bit. And that was it. We rallied a little bit in the ninth. Their left fielder made an awesome play. I don't know if it would have been a home run, but it was close. And they played well, and they didn't quit, and they kept fighting. And when they got an opportunity, and we gave them some things in the eighth, they took advantage of it. And tip your hat.
All right, again, if you have a question for one of the student athletes, raise your hand. We do have a microphone here for your question. And then state your name and media affiliation, please. We'll get started with Patrick with D1Baseball.com.
Hey, Brody, I know it's a tough loss, but can you just talk about that start from a developmental standpoint based on where you started last year and where you are to this point?
Yeah, I try to go out there and do whatever I could to help the team win. I'm looking at the stat sheet right now. I still 4 walks. That's costly. Home run, missed my spot. So I'm always going to demand, perfection out of myself, and always going to strive to be better. It sucks. It's a tough loss. But yeah, we're going to bounce back tomorrow for sure.
Right here in front, Brian.
There you go.
Dargan Southern from the Des Moines Register. Just for both of you guys, how do you bounce back after a game that went that way?
It's gonna sound cliche, but you gotta take everything one pitch at a time. You can't go up there, try to throw a hero pitch or hit the hero shot off over the fence. It's all about taking it one pitch at a time. There's a lot of dogs on this team. We gotta put the dog back in the fight. Sure, it sucks to lose, especially like what happened right now, when you lead the whole game, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. The reason baseball is so beautiful, you go out and play the next day. You don't got to wait a week like football. You can come back and do whatever you need to do to get out there and get a win. And I know that myself, my teammates, my brothers in arms, we're going to go out there and do everything we can to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward to not leave anything out on this field.
Yeah, it's a tough loss for sure. It's going to sting tonight, but like Raider said, you got to wake up. Sun's going to come up tomorrow. We got a new opportunity ahead of us.
Kyle Huseman, Hawkeye Report. Brody, just talk about what was rolling for you on the mound today, what you were able to do well. Was it certain pitches that were working, or just kind of go through what was going well for you today? I
think I was able to get ahead. That always helps. You get ahead. It increases their chase rates. My slider was feeling good. I just felt in control. But yeah.
Do you have any more questions for the student athletes here? All right, guys, we can go ahead and let you guys go, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. And then we'll get started here with questions for Coach. Again, if you have a question for Coach, raise your hand, and we'll get you the mic.
No, Brody, it was at 108 pitches after the seventh. Just kind of walk me through what the pitching discussions were from that point, through the eighth.
There was a little bit of talk about maybe having Brody go out and start the inning and face Diaz, just because it was a way better matchup from a lefty-righty statistical standpoint. But, at that point, we're like, all right, we got a 2-run lead. Let's give Simpson a clean inning and let him go. And then hopefully we can, save Llewellyn and Christopherson since they both threw last night, and or have Llewellyn ready to go for the ninth. But it was just one of those innings where it was tough. Walked the leadoff guy, which is never a good thing, and like I said, then we get nickel dimed a little bit, and you're thinking he's going to get out of it. And the matchups were really good. The lefty matchups that we had with him statistically were good, so you were tempted to keep him in there, and hit the guy, unfortunately. So another free base, and then we have to bring Llewellyn into a tough spot. And to his credit, he threw strikes and made them beat us, and they did.
Question here in the front.
Cody Emerson, Journal Review. Coach, I know before the tournament started, you talked about your time here at ISU and what it was like to kind of just be back and even potentially to play Indiana State. Just thoughts on facing an old team. I know you probably would have loved to come out with a win, obviously, but I don't want to say if there's any team you'd want to lose to, it'd be these guys. But
No, I mean, that really doesn't factor in once the game starts. I mean, that's all stuff that we talked about before, but it wouldn't have mattered who we played. I mean, that's a big game. You win that game, you're sitting in a good spot to finish things off and get to a super regional, and that's where we wanted to go. And to have a lead in the eighth, I mean, we haven't probably blown 4 leads in the eighth in the last 10 years, and it just doesn't happen in our program, and hasn't happened in our program. So it's just a painful loss. Doesn't matter who it was, and how it happened. Just makes it a little more painful. But we'll bounce back, like Raider said, and now we got a big challenge, and you have to win 3 games, and we'll go out and see what we can do.
Hey, Coach, last night you mentioned that, in the middle and late innings, your offense kind of got out of their, rhythm routine, weren't doing the same mechanics. It seemed tonight that they did a better job from beginning to end against a tough pitcher. Can you speak to the game beginning and end approach of your lineup?
When you face a guy like Finlong, and he just doesn't give in, I mean, he lives with that cutter down in the zone, down and away, and he was getting that call tonight, which made it tempting for our guys to try to swing at it. And there were times throughout, the game that you saw that guys would cave in and hit a weak ground ball. When you look at his numbers, he doesn't really strike out a ton of guys. He induces a lot of weak contact. And we were trying our best to get our guys to take that pitch, even if it was called a strike, and even if it was called a strike twice. To get him to maybe make a mistake and get the ball up and try to do damage when he did. And for the most part, you're right. I thought our guys stuck to the plan, and it broke through. It finally broke through. We got a run early. Raider had a good night, and we were in a really good place. But that was a ball game that you need to be able to win, 4-2, and we just didn't do it.
Coach, Hunter Tickle, Tribune Star. That 8th inning, like you said, it was a moment where you guys give up the lead. And did it feel like there was a moment where either the walk or the hit by pitch or the double, was there any moment where you were like, okay, we're in a moment now where we might be in trouble, and maybe this is like the hit that broke the back, or anything that you saw out there in that 8th inning that you thought really changed the game, the complexion of the game?
I mean, obviously, when those bad luck type things happen, you know what can happen after that if you don't make great pitches, and I felt confident we were going to get out of it, to be honest with you. I thought we'd either get a double play ball or get a strikeout, and we'd at the very worst go in with a 1-run lead and give the ball to Christofferson and see if he could go out and shut the door in the 9th. That's what I was thinking. And unfortunately, when you're in a bases loaded situation, it just makes it tough because there's just no margin for error, especially for a reliever coming in like Llewellyn had to. I mean, he's got to throw strikes, and he can't have wild pitches, and puts a lot of pressure on him. And obviously when they when they did the damage, the first one we were only down a run, and felt confident we'd have a chance to rally back. But then when it became 3, I knew it was going to be tougher, and we were at the bottom part of our lineup. But we get a leadoff guy on, and like I said, if Frazier's ball gets down and the left fielder doesn't make that play, I mean, that's a different ball game. They're scrambling a little bit, and we were hoping we could get to Peterson and DeRiggi, with the tying runner, the go-ahead run at the plate, and just fell short.
I think we have time for one more question here for Coach, if we have one. Right here at Dargan.
I know it'll probably be hard to convince Brody, how good he was tonight, given the final result. But just how big was him delivering like that in that spot?
Yeah, it was a really just a maturity thing for me, seeing how far he's come since day one and all the battles that he's been through this year, and to go out in a game like that and basically throw 7 innings, give up two hits, 2 runs and 2 hits, and against a really good team like Indiana State, that was a tremendous effort. And if this would happen to be his last outing of this season, it's a really good one to build on going into the summer, and when he's with us the entire fall next year for the first time, I think everybody out here can see the potential of what that could be next spring.